Well, welcome, Falcon fans, to week 4 of the Coaches Show. Man, it's hard to believe that we're already into week 4 with this season. It seems like we anticipate it, and it gets here, and all of a sudden it goes really quick.
It does go really quick every year. I can't, for me, I'm in year 21, and that seems impossible. So it definitely flies by.
It does. Well, hey, let's talk a little bit about last week's game against Childress. How do you think that actually went?
It went well. I think one of the things as a coach you're always concerned about is, and it's, this is my job, is to make sure we're ready to go every Friday night. And, obviously week 1 with big game with West Plains and, a lot of emotions, big deal. Then you come back home and play big game against Canadians, always a big game. You think your challenge as a coach is always to make sure that your team's ready to go at 7 o'clock the next Friday, and no trap games, no letdown games, because we had a very quality opponent in front of us. So I'm really proud of the kids, though. I think that they're bought in and locked into the idea that 7 o'clock every Friday night we're going to be ready to go.
It was really cool. Friday afternoon I run into JT and Tate told me we're pitching a shutout tonight. He goes, dude, we've watched the film, we put in the work, we're pitching a shutout. And talk a little bit about, because you get to see, this group loves, or at least seems to really love to put in the work ahead of time.
Yeah, I think they just love to play football. I said that early on and during two-a-days, I think, and I don't know, another interview somewhere, and these kids love to play football. They look like they have fun out there. Any practice can get a little monotonous and old sometimes. Football is one of the hardest ones because you're out there with pads on, a helmet on, and the heat, and you're hitting each other, and you're running around and all those things. But, we've got to still focus on getting better every day, and that's the biggest thing we're concerned with. And like you said, those kids, we want to hang our hat on defense. I love offense. I love putting points on the board and lots of yards and all that kind of good stuff. But we want to hang our hat on defense and still feel that, defense wins championships. It wins district championships. It wins gold balls in the playoffs and gives you a chance to hopefully be playing for it all in week 16.
Speaking of that defense, it really does set the tone for the whole game. We've seen it, now 3 games where they've come out, they've really set the tone early, kind of in the ball game. And to me, if you watch the offenses on the other side, they start to adjust very early and try to find something that works. How much did that play into last week with Childress that you saw?
Well, like you said, it sets our tone for the game. If we can get a quick stop and get the ball to great field position, we have a chance to get points on the board early and get a lead. And once we feel like we get a lead, we start wanting to try to go for the throat then. And if we can jump on people multiple scores, then we can let our defensive front loose on the quarterback a little bit, and that's where we want to be. So getting, setting the tone and getting those important stops early is a big deal for us.
I felt like from the very get-go you got to control the game. And then through the game, it felt like you got to get a lot of depth in. You got to play a lot of players. How big is that getting ready for district?
It's big because you're going to need, you're seeing right now just injuries and little people dinged up a little bit and stuff like that. You need depth. You got to have depth, whether it's somebody that has to come out for a series or somebody for a game or 2 weeks or whatever it is. And you want to try to get, everybody in. That's what everybody practices for, so they can try to get in and help the team in any way they can. Those reps aren't going to be the same ever in a game. But, getting those guys the game experience is huge. We saw, last week, Creed Copeland stepped in and did a great job. And, he's been working hard, and he did a great job for us last week.
So one of the things we got to do this year that we haven't done before is we actually sat down and talked to the offensive line. So next week you guys are going to see kind of an interview that we did with those guys. And it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. But one thing that they said, they really feel like they're very tight as a group of guys. How important is that for your – and not just offensive line, obviously as a team, that they seem like they're just always in sync with each other? I mean, that's the message we got yesterday.
Yeah, I think we do have great team chemistry, and that goes a long ways, and making a deep run in the playoffs. Offensive linemen definitely are a different breed. There's some different cats for sure, but they do. The other night they were talking about they were going to eat somewhere at 6:30, invited me to go with them. I couldn't go. I had one of my kids doing something that night. But, you know, those guys enjoy being around each other, whether it's in the locker room, obviously out on the field. A lot of those guys sit with each other at lunch, you know, and they go hang out. It's kind of a different, it's a fraternity, you know. When you play offensive line, you've got to be willing to not get much credit. And they probably talked a little bit about that in your interview. You have to be willing to not give much credit and take all the blame when things go wrong. That's what people do. You know, the armchair quarterback, that's what everybody does. And you have to have a special bond, because those are the guys, they can't take a play off. You know, when they take a play off, they take a practice off, whatever it is, you know, it shows. You know, somebody's getting hit in the backfield, getting sacked, whatever. So it's really been fun to see that group develop and come along, because, you know, we can't do anything offensively without those guys, you know, and we're getting better. We still have a ways to go, just like any of the other groups on the team, but, you know, we have a ways to go, and I think we're getting better each week with the offensive line. Our pass protection has been solid all year. We're getting better each week in the run game, so we just got to keep fitting those pieces in there, and, you know, those other guys just realizing when my number's called, I have to be ready to go.
You know, one of the things they talked a lot about, and Charlie talked about Coach Espy and just the influence he has. And
we love Coach Espy.
They love Coach Espy. And as we interviewed him in the barn and just seeing the impact that some of these coaches have, and you've got a lot of new faces this year on your coaching staff. What does, you know, but you also got veterans. Mayfield, who's been here from day one of Bushland, to Espy and some of those. What is this year's staff? Is there a new energy that some of these newer guys have brought that balances some of the veteran leadership you have?
Yeah, you know, speaking of Coach Espy, you know, he does a great job with those guys. You have to have a special coach to also coach the offensive line that has a special relationship with those guys, because it's different, and he realizes that. He's been around long enough to understand that you have to have a relationship with those guys, and, you know, they love each other, they hate each other, you know, the normal stuff that goes on in a daily practice, in a daily week. You know, if he's not happy, he gets after them, you know, and they get mad at him, but then they hug it up and they love each other after practice. He'll compliment them, he'll hug them on the game. You know, you watch Coach Espy in the game and he gets fired up. I got to get him off the field sometimes, and he gets too far out there. But, you know, Coach Espy's just great for Bushland ISD, because he loves our kids. He's very passionate about what we do and our kids. I gave him a hard time off his last week or the week before after one of our touchdowns, and he tried to go up out there on the field when Jaco was coming off, and he tried to jump up and do the old side hit thing in the air. And Jaco, you know, got up there pretty high, and Espy had about a 2-inch vertical. So we gave him a hard time about that. But, you know, you got to have a guy like Coach Espy on your staff, and specifically, you know, coaching that offensive line. You know, he just understands it. So, and then, you know, you talk about the rest of our staff. You know, we have a few new guys, great additions for us. You know, sometimes you're always afraid of change, you know, because you get comfortable with the people you're around, no matter what the business is. You get comfortable with what you're doing. You just set, everybody knows their role, their job, and life happens, and that's just part of it. And you lose good people, you know, but then you try to replace them with good people as well. And I think we've been able to do that, like you said, kind of a mix of some younger guys and some other guys, veteran guys. So just been really happy with I was thinking about that last night. It's funny you said that as we're driving off, just how, you know, it got all put together, and just really happy with our staff right now and where we're going. We're still learning, but just everybody jumping in and knowing their role, and really just caring about kids. So really happy with those guys.
Yeah, those are definitely lasting relationships for sure. And I know I coached in Arizona for a few years, and one of my players is going to be up at Oklahoma Panhandle State playing in November, and he called and said, "Coach Welch, can you come see me play?" So that'll be the second time I've got to see him play in college. So it's definitely a lot of fun. So let's talk a little bit about this week. Before we get into tonight's game, let's talk about what happened last night, where we think we were against Borger for all of our games. Is that right?
Yes, junior high was off last night, so we had our freshmen and JV played at home against Borger. Both those groups did a great job. I think we got big shutout wins against both of them. So, Really fun, again, talking about hanging your hat on defense. You know, you get 2 shutout victories in sub-varsity. You know, that's kind of what we're wanting to do. You know, obviously we want to score points too, but we want people to know that we're all about defense, and we're not going to let you score, because if you can't score, you can't win. So really happy with both of those groups. They played well, played hard, defended our home turf. So those guys are going the right direction. We just got to keep them going there.
You know, obviously, with junior high being off, last night was cool to look down on the sideline. The junior high kids were being ball boys and doing jobs and getting to be around the freshman JV. But then you look, and I mean, that sideline was littered with varsity players. You know, what is that for a program to see that kind of unity when we're at home on a Thursday night and there's that many of your kids program wide on the sideline?
You know, we hope it just helps build the culture of what we want. You know, guys have been doing that here for a long time. You know, and we actually talk about it some with those guys a few weeks ago, and just said, you know, hey, think about back when you were in junior high and those guys were on the sidelines coming to watch you. You know, when you were on the freshman team, the JV, it meant a lot to you then, you know. Be that guy now. This is your turn. This is your turn to go encourage those kids and be there and watch them and tell them great job, or pick them up, hey, keep your head up, you're all right, you know. That's what we want our program to be all about. And, you know, it's fun watching those guys because they get into it, you know, down there. Sometimes they get a little too close to the action. We got to tell them to back up. But just really appreciate those guys, you know, because they don't have to do that. You know, they could go out and be doing other things Thursday night. But the fact that they're there, you know, watching those kids, encouraging those kids, because what it does, like you said, it builds a culture to, you know, those young guys. Now those 7th and 8th graders, you know, we hope that they return the favor here in 4 or 5 years when they're on the varsity, and just really support one another. You know, it kind of leads into, you know, even like I'm thinking about guys right now that are out there playing in college. You know, Ethan Fuentes, who had a great week last week, playing at William Jewell, Cash, Eddie Moore's playing, Sebastian, Jaron Alvarado, who's like a 9th-year senior, I think.
He's got a couple.
He's like a
extra
9th
COVID
year, several COVID years, a blue shirt, gray shirt, red shirt. Guys like that have been really proud. But, you know, you talk about Jaron, that's a pretty cool deal. I really want to go watch him play this year, just because, you know, that's tough to stick with football that long, because it takes a toll on you. It's hard. It's not easy. And, you know, the fact that he's still out there on year 9 or whatever it is really says a lot about Jaron, so really proud of him. But it just kind of helps develop all that, you know. I know a lot of our kids talk about those guys still and watching them. And I know several of us watched a couple of weeks ago whenever Colorado Mesa played William Jewell, and you had Cash and Ethan playing against each other, and Crockett coaching in that same game. So that was pretty cool. So, you know, that's just the culture we want to have, you know, a family. You know, we break it out a lot of times on family, and that's what we want to be about.
You talk, and that's a lasting thing. And I say that because I know Charlie caught me. I didn't even know this afterwards, and he goes, he said, Aaron called me after the game the other night and said, hey, I watched the game, good job. That's really cool. You know, Aaron's in college, and 2nd year there in college, and still calling back and talking to the guys. That's special, and that's called a program. You know, that's called that's a family, and that's what you're after what you're building up.
Yes, for sure. That's one of my favorite things, I think all the coaches about, is after kids leave and they graduate, and you still being able to have some relationship. You're not going to see them all the time and talk to them. It's never quite the same because you're not seeing them every day, you know, but just being able to keep up with those guys, you know, as they get into college, as they graduate, they get married, they start families. That's the really neat part about this job.
You know, just to throw a quick word in, Taylor Cornelius just signed an extension there in Edmonton to play quarterback another 2 years. So it's cool to see the legacy of the football program, that it doesn't just end at high school here in Bushland. Yeah,
it's really neat. Good deal for him, obviously. Again, you know, talking about somebody who started as a walk-on, you know, at Oklahoma State, and, you know, had to endure waiting 4 years, you know, and waiting. There's not a lot of people that have the patience anymore to just keep working and wait, you know, and keep doing the right thing. Too many people now, in my opinion, just, you know, quit on things and for Taylor to do that and wait his turn and earn that opportunity and then have the senior year that he had and then just keep on fighting, and earning this spot, at Edmonton. It's been really fun to watch him.
I'll have to get him on for an interview. I'll call his daddy.
We do.
So,
He's a big talker, let me tell you.
That's funny. Well, hey, let's talk about tonight's contest. So going to Borger. So we've had 2 home games, which has been great. We'll make the long trip, to Borger, right? Not
That's
too
right.
far. So kind of how are you approaching the game? What do we expect to see from Borger tonight?
The Borgers, they're a lot better. I feel like they're a lot better football team than they have been the last few years. Coach Tolliver's done a good job, and his son's quarterback, and he's an athletic kid, quick, and he could throw the football as well. Good running back. They're playing solid right now and have some confidence. They're 2-1. I'm sure we'll go over there and they're not going to like us. We have to expect that. But that's going to be every week.
Sure.
When you start winning and get some attention, you're going to have a target on you. But for us, we'll approach it same thing, same week. Doesn't matter the opponent. We're going to respect them because we know that we can win every game, but we know that we can lose every game too. So we're going to respect our opponent and go out there and just try to keep getting better. Coach speak every week for me, but it's the simple truth. It's true. I mean, we can only control so much, and we try to get better during the week, and then we try to go out there Friday nights, do the best we can, and improve, and just do the 3 things that we talk about we can control: play fast, play physical, and have fun. You can control those things, and if we do that, I feel like we have a chance.
You talk about the target on the back, and obviously these guys are getting they're getting respect because they've earned respect. But do you spend much time talking about just the difference in mindset from being the hunter to being hunted?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think they understand that. I think we're hunted a lot, not just in football, but in a lot of things. So I think our kids understand that already, just coming through. I think they get that. So, that's the approach you have to take every week, I think, is, you've got people that want to come get you, and if you don't show up, you're going to have one of those, trap games or let down games or whatever. I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're ready to go. I think our kids understand the importance of every Friday night, that you put all the work that you put in the whole off season in the summer and everything, and your limited opportunities. You're not playing Tuesdays, Fridays, or Tuesdays, Saturdays. You're playing only Fridays, and it can be gone in a hurry. So I think our kids understand the importance and the sense of urgency to be ready to go every Friday night.
So obviously, as you go through the season, you continue to build out your playbook a little bit here and there. How hard is it to kind of hold back maybe some of that as you get into, because you've got things in your head you want to do, but you want to hold till district or you want to hold till the playoffs? What's your approach from a playbook as it grows throughout the season?
Yeah, obviously, it grows. Whether we ended up running some of those plays or formations on a Friday night, we start, I would say we start putting some new things on starting week 1. First, during 2-a-day scrimmages, we're staying pretty basic, pretty vanilla, just trying to get better at what we do. As we get going on it, we add formations, we add plays, but for the most part, we're trying not to add too much. Okay. There's going to be wrinkles here and there every single week, somehow, some way. But the biggest deal is we're trying to just, we have more access to film, to watch practice now, do some of those things. So we have the opportunities just to really work at it and get better and try to really improve us week to week, day to day. But like you said, well, there's some things we want to try to save for district for sure, if we can, and just have some of that stuff ready to go, because that's the first, first team goal is the district championship. So, if we can not show some of those things, then we'd like to, but we're definitely work on some different things from week to week.
It helps when you're up 4 or 5 touchdowns not to have to dig real deep in the playbook. You talk about improving every week. Talk about a couple of your guys that you really maybe want to show some love to, that you've just seen some major improvement on this year.
We've been trying to start doing that the last week or two after practices, and whether it's me and a few other coaches, we're trying to, call guys out after practice in front of everybody that we feel like have improved, have worked hard. Maybe they're not playing very much, but they're doing things, finding a way to help the team. Maybe they're going hard as they can and on scout team. Maybe they're encouraging on the sidelines, things like that. Just some of the guys we brought up this week, we talked about, obviously we see Brecken Reed in the plays he makes on Friday nights, on offense and defense. He's doing a great job for us. But Brecken's having fun out there, and he leads by example. He goes hard in practice. You got to tell him to get out. I mean, he's trying to get in and do everything. He's a starter both sides of the ball. Kind of. I'll get to that in a second. But he's jumping in on scout team. He hustles everywhere. When I said kind of, about him and Cole Purcell, here's pretty much how they split who's starting, is they do rock, paper, scissors every day, and whoever wins gets to start. So Brecken's done a great. Ty Morris has really worked hard. Talking about offensive line, working hard to do a great job. Ty goes hard all the time. You're going to get nothing but Ty's best effort, every day, every Friday night. And he's just really been, working hard for us. Jesse Cantrell, couldn't be any more happy to have Jesse Cantrell as part of this football team. He's a great leader. He gets leadership. He knows how to lead others by example, by actions, by words. He's a great holder. He's on our extra points and field goals. He's a great holder. Just the things that he says and does that people don't see or hear all the time, even some of the other kids behind the scenes, talking with DJ, the words of encouragement for DJ, as a backup quarterback is not always easy, but the things he has to say to DJ and just encourage him, and it's been a real blessing to have him part of our program.
Talk about our defense. They put out some stats this week. It was interesting. They said the sack leaders in the Texas Panhandle, 5 out of the 10 that were mentioned are Bushland kids. So we go back to the defense. I don't think I've ever seen that from any of our teams.
No, that's, our kids are really getting to the quarterback. That's what we want to do. We want to live back there. We don't want that quarterback to get comfortable. And we have the guys that are athletic and explosive up front. And we've been able to, like we talked about earlier, we've been able to get some leads. That always helps. If you can get people multiple scores behind where they feel like they got to throw it more, and then we just pin our ears back and we're going to come at you. So, Charlie's up there, Easton's up there, Matt Bridges is up there with sacks, JT Suggs has been back there, had a lot of guys, Austin Ryder. Yeah. Austin Ryder's lived in the backfield too. And I feel like for years we've done a great job with defense, but I really feel like right now we're in full mode, attack mode right now. Great. And it's just fun to watch those guys get back there and just get after it. We have great cover guys. Even though our cover guys are great, they don't have to cover very long when we're getting to the quarterback fast, And anytime you're in man coverage a lot, you don't want to have to cover forever. It's hard to chase guys around the field. So, yeah, just a credit to those guys up front for, just going hard and getting to the quarterback every week.
Going into Borger tonight, obviously, what are some of the things you're looking to get out of this game? Because obviously every week you're preparing for district, and you've built this schedule to get you district ready and then playoff ready. What are some when you sit down with your coach? What are some of your team goals? What are you looking for to come out of tonight? Hopefully.
Well, we're looking, a lot of positives. We want to see, obviously, if we could say another pitch, another shutout, that'd be great. That's always good, right? But we want to keep improving. We're going to have some guys step up tonight into a couple of different roles. So, we want to see our defense keep doing what they're doing. We want to keep getting to the quarterback. And we want to make people snap it again. That's the big thing. When you're playing an attacking style defense, not giving up the big play is pretty important, especially when, like I said, when you're running man coverage. If they completed, just like last week, they completed a few to, Lamont, and we either went out of bounds or we tackled him immediately. We didn't give up the big one, So our defense continuing to attack and make them snap it again and not give up the big touchdown is big for our defense. Offensively, we want to keep playing fast, keep our tempo, We want to keep improving in the run game. I think we've been pretty solid in the past game. Run game's been good, with the exception of 1 week. We feel like we could have done a little better, but we want to keep getting better in the run game and keep taking care of the football.
Well, we keep seeing that play action pass. We saw it a couple times against Canadian, which traditionally we don't see a lot of play action passes with your spread offense. But there were a couple times where you hit that play action pass in that seam, and you talk about Brecken Reed. Man, he's a weapon down the seams right now.
Yeah, he's Brecken's really strong hands, big, strong, thick kid. It's hard to get down, but to answer your question, yeah, I mean that's always part of our options on offense. It depends on what the defense is presenting us week to week. Really, you know what I mean. Sometimes the run, maybe we're running it 40 times a game. If that's what the defense is presenting and that's what we can be successful with, we're going to run it 40 times. If they're loading the box and we have opportunities in the pass game, then we're going to throw it 40, 50 times. Whatever we need to do to put points on the board and win the football game. Maybe it's play action. Maybe it's taking a lot of shots down the field. It just kind of depends on what the defense is giving us that night.
All right, well, I say we wrap this coach's show up for week 4. So, folks, come out tonight to Borger, short trip. So, as always, we encourage you to be at the game.
Come see their new stadium.
Yeah,
it's a nice stadium.
Yeah, it is very nice. So, we'll kick off our program at 6:30-ish, typically. And then kickoff of the game is at 7. But so tune in if you can't make it there. We really appreciate all of our fans. We've had a lot of fans this year actually online, and a lot of rewatches. So for Bushland Falcon Media, Coach Reynolds, Stephen Lyle.